Good evening to our global audience and thank you for joining us yet again on a brand new week on Primetime News. I'm your anchor for the evening, Michael Madimba. Headline in this evening's bulletin. 2 South African nationals were arrested last week Tuesday after they were allegedly found photographing military equipment inside the Grootfontein Army base. Mulisa Simeasa compiled this report.
The Namibian Police Force Crime Investigations Coordinator for the Otjozondjupa region, Deputy Commissioner Nokalemo Andreas, in an interview with Nampa on Monday said the suspects are a couple from South Africa who claimed to be tourists. Andreas said the two made their first appearances at the Grootfontein Magistrates Court on Friday and were asked to pay bail of $5,000 each. They are out on bail and they are 60-year-old Walter John Dalton and his wife, 58-year-old Cornelia Maria Dalton, Andreas said. The senior police officer further stated that it is still unknown to the police how this couple managed to enter the heavily protected military base with their vehicle and also who authorized them to take pictures inside the biggest military base in the country. She said a charge of trespassing is also part of their case, which we are still investigating. The two are expected to return to court this Tuesday, possibly for trial and sentencing, added Andreas. Police investigations into the matter continue. Reporting for Nampa News, I am Sawi Hausiko.
Moving to the Kavango West region, where Governor Sirka Hausiko highlighted the need for a construction of a fully fledged magistrates court in the town of Mkurenkuru. She made these remarks recently during the delivery of a State of the Region address.
Currently, the region has a periodic court situated at Kahenge Settlement, which is meant to serve the more remote areas of the region. Hausiko said the community courts are the preferred line of access to justice in rural communities. She stated the region has 2 community courts, namely the Mbunza and Ukwangali community courts. The 2 courts processed a combined total of 400 cases in a year, thus the need for a fully fledged magistrate court. On the mines and energy sector, Hausiko noted that the region continues to implement rural electrification at government facilities. However, the region still has a backlog of 54 schools and many villages that need to be electrified. She said villages such as Karanawa, Matende, and the Namasira checkpoint are amongst the many villages that need electricity. On rural water supply, the governor said she is pleased to note that a number of boreholes were drilled, installed and rehabilitated to an amount of $12.1 million. Reporting for Nampa News, I am Sawi Hausiko.
On to a rather sad story. The lifeless body of a woman was discovered on Thursday in a riverbed near the capital's Evangelical Lutheran Church has been identified as 28-year-old Charmaine Saron.
A police crime report issued Saturday indicated that the deceased was a resident of Rehoboth, who according to his sister only came to Windhoek 3 weeks ago to attend nursing assistant classes. The report said a post-mortem was conducted, which indicated the deceased was stabbed 27 times. It said the relatives indicated that she was last seen on Wednesday when she left home at about 17 hours to 11 in the evening. No arrests were made thus far, and police investigation into the matter continue.
Shifting attention to news within the SADC region. Local sources today said a rebel group in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo that the government accuses of being supported by Rwanda has overrun a trading hub on the border with Uganda.
They said M23 fighters seized the town of Bunagana in North Kivu province as some government forces retreated into Uganda. A Congolese officer who was reached by AFP by phone from Goma said Bunagana is under army control. Damien Subusanane, head of the local civil society association, who was on the Ugandan side of the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo, said the army has just given way and is heading into Uganda. He said an army truck has just gone past 4 jeeps and other vehicles which were full of soldiers, estimating the number of DRC troops retreating into Uganda at around 100. A humanitarian source on the ground said the heavy clashes broke out again on Sunday morning and the only way out for the embattled DRC troops was to cross into Uganda. The M23, a primarily Congolese Tutsi militia, is one of the more than 120 armed groups active in eastern DRC. It briefly captured Goma in 2012, but a joint offensive by UN troops and the Congolese army called the rebellion.
When we return, Namibia Breweries Limited says the proposed acquisition of NBL by Heineken stands to unlock economic opportunities. In Monday's edition of Primetime Bees, we begin with all things hops, barley and water. Namibia Breweries Limited says the proposed acquisition of NBL by Heineken, one of the world's largest brewers by volume, stands to unlock economic opportunities and benefits to the retail value of $1 billion Namibian dollars. Lydia Pitiri gives us the lowdown.
The statement added the deal will catalyze the development of local supply chains, shareholder value creation, and the enhancement of customer and consumer experience. NBL Managing Director Marco Wang said the acquisition would enable the brewery to compete on a global scale, as it currently had to fend itself both in terms of competition in Namibia as well as beyond the borders. He added the opportunity to create a combined business with Heineken and Distell will allow NBL not to only benefit from a unique multi-category portfolio, which is vital to ensure they can respond to changes in consumer preferences, but also to provide consumers with more innovation and choice. The proposed transaction entails Heineken acquiring in scope operation of Distell Group Holdings, Namibia, and a controlling interest in NBL, allowing the parties to actively compete against the like of AB InBev, the world's leading brewer. NBL has been operational for just over 100 years with more than 800 employees, while its products are exported to 17 countries outside of Namibia and South Africa. NBL Investment Holdings Limited is the controlling structure above Namibian Breweries Limited.
Bitcoin tumbled earlier today to an 18-month low under $25,000 as investors shunned risky assets in the face of global market sell-off. Sawi Hausiku reports.
The world's most popular cryptocurrency dived about 10% to hit $24,692 in morning London deals, striking a level last seen in December 2020. World stock markets have plunged since Friday, when data showed US inflation at a fresh four-decade high, increasing recession fears. Ava trade analyst Naeem Aslam said the correlation between the equity markets and Bitcoin continues to gain strength. The virtual unit has collapsed 65% in value since striking a record peak in November of 2021.
Stay tuned for your sports news, but first, your economics roundup and the weather forecast.
evening and welcome to the world of sport. I'm Selima Shimwefeleni Masipa. We begin in the northern town of Oshakati, where the president of the Namibia Paralympic Committee, Johannes Litwai, has called on athletes with disabilities to employ a solid work ethic to enable them to represent their regions or country with pride when called upon. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the 2022 Namibia Paralympic Committee National Athletics Championships held at the Oshakati Stadium in the Oshana region on Saturday, Litwai said it has been years since they hosted the championship and this affected the scouting of young new talent. Meanwhile, speaking at the same event, the Namibia Paralympic Committee Secretary General, Michael Hamukwaya, has expressed happiness with the number of young athletes who competed at this year's athletics championships. In an interview with the Namibia Press Agency on Saturday, Hamukwaya said it was overwhelming to see young and upcoming athletes giving it their all and fighting for positions in the national team. Stand by for your sports roundup. And with that, we've come to the end of tonight's newscast. Thanks for watching. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like, share, and press the notifications bell to stay posted on the latest happenings locally and globally. Catch us tomorrow for another edition of Primetime News. From myself, Selima Shimwefeleni Masipa, and the entire production crew, it's good night.